Now, have you heard of the richest black man whose net worth is way much more than that of Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk all put together? Okay, just hold on if you have. Just hold on. Picture this. You're standing on a dusty path somewhere in North Africa, and out of nowhere, you hear the sound of drums, and the ground begins to shake. And then, hold on, from a distance you see it, a long file of unidentifiable objects, they're moving towards you. So massive, it looks endless. But as it comes closer, you see tens of thousands of people, soldiers with spears, servants carrying bundles of food, women they're draped in silk, and at the very center, 80 camels, each one loaded with hundreds of pounds of pure gold. What would you do? Now, that is not an army marching to war. That is one man going on a road trip, a pilgrimage. And this one journey will change the entire world's perception of him and of Africa for the longest of times. His name is Mansa Musa, the richest human being in all of history. But wait, how does one man, a king in Africa, carry so much wealth that it could crash entire economies? The answer lies in his empire, the Mali Empire. So this is 1324, and the Mali Empire was sitting on the largest gold mines in the known world. Musa controlled land stretching thousands of miles across West Africa, from the Atlantic coast deep into the Sahara. You may be asking, how did the Empire of Mali grow in wealth and influence? Look, gold and salt flowed out of Mali like rivers. Caravans from Europe, Arabia, and beyond all had to pass through his territory, and he taxed every trader, every merchant, every caravan that passed. Now you can do the math. Mansa Musa wasn't just rich because of luck. He organized the empire's mines. He kept the routes safe with his army. Now, gradually, Musa turned Mali into the center of global trade. While Europe was struggling with plagues and poverty and endless wars, Musa was sitting on mountains of treasure. Now you know. So now, let's get back to that road trip. When Musa set out for Mecca, he didn't go small. He brought an army of 60,000 men, 12,000 servants dressed in brocade and silk, and camels carrying hundreds of pounds of pure gold. His wife, Inari Kunait, came too, surrounded by her own entourage of women, all wearing the finest clothes money could ever buy. Now, when people talk about Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, they often forget someone very important. And that's his wife, Inari Kunait. She walked beside him during his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca. But who was she really? Or was she just a wife, a queen in her own rights, or just a shadow behind Musa's gold? A lot of stories whisper that she demanded the same luxuries as Musa himself, silk, perfumes, and gold ornaments. Others said she was just visible and radiant during the journey, that many thought she overshadowed Musa's own display of wealth. Whether true or not, one thing was clear: she was not hidden. She was a queen the world could see. Now, just a little about Inari Kunait. She was remembered as proud, elegant, and strong-willed. Unlike many queens of her time who stayed silent in the background, she traveled, she was seen, and she embodied Mali's glory right beside her husband. Yeah, she did. But after Musa's passing, her name almost vanished from the records. Was it because she was just a rumor in history, or because she was too powerful to be remembered in a world that only celebrated kings? When Musa and his caravan reached Cairo, Egypt, people's jaws dropped. Literally. He handed out gold like candy to the poor, to merchants, even to rulers. He built mosques along the way. He spent and donated so much that the price of gold just collapsed. Yeah, So you can imagine that. One man's generosity crashing the economy of an entire region, not for a day, not for a month, but for an entire decade. Now, news of Musa spread like wildfire, and in Europe, cartographers began sketching maps of Africa with a golden crown that sits on top of Mali. Scholars in the Middle East wrote about this African king who drowned cities in wealth. Timbuktu, Musa's capital, became the crown jewel of Africa. It was filled with scholars, universities, and libraries. People traveled all the way from Spain, Arabia, and beyond, just to study, to come to Mali and study. This was Africa at its peak. It was the rave of the moment. A kingdom richer and more powerful than all of Western Europe combined. Imagine that. And it was Musa who put it on the map. But here's the twist. Musa's pilgrimage made him a legend, yeah? Alright, but it also made him a target. Everyone knew Mali's wealth. Rival rulers looked at his gold with envy. His own children and grandchildren would one day fight bitterly over it. However, Musa wanted to be remembered for his faith and generosity. Instead, he had unknowingly set the stage for greed, jealousy, and betrayal. Another question I know will be beating in your heart could be, what factors would have impacted the Mali Empire's decline? Okay, here it is. So after returning from Mecca, Musa poured his wealth into Mali. He built schools, mosques, and trade routes. He commissioned architects like Abu Ishaq al-Sahili, who designed magnificent mosques still standing in Mali today, to this present day. But as you know, kings don't live forever. Musa passed in 1337, and without him, Mali began to fracture. His heirs fought amongst themselves, trade routes shifted, rivals attacked. The once golden empire began to fade, piece by piece, until only ruins and memories remained. Here's the thing, Mansa Musa's net worth, adjusted for today's money, would be something like this: $400 billion. More than Jeff Bezos, more than Elon Musk, and more than Bill Gates combined. Imagine that. And yet, all that wealth couldn't stop the fall of his empire. So what do we remember today? We remember the man who took a road trip and shook the world. A king who made Europe look poor. Made them look poor. A lost African kingdom that once stood taller than all of Europe combined. And the next time someone tells you, hey, Africa has no glory, no wealth, no power, just remember Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, the king whose road trip changed the entire world. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and drop your comments down in the comment section, and stay put for the next video.